You think you are fighting a political party.
Let's say China.
In fact, you are fighting the state itself. You can't destroy the CCP without destroying the constitution. And you can't change the constitutions. Only China can do that. So what exactly is your strategy? In this video, I will tell you what you are actually fighting. The West has fundamentally misread China. In order to understand the People's Republic of China, we must first understand the Chinese Communist Party is not merely a governing party operating within the state. China is CCP and CCP is China. So whenever I say China, I'm referring to the People's Republic of China and not the Chinese civilization. Please keep that in mind. In practice, the party and the institutions of government are inseparable. To understand why, we need to ask a simple question. What is a political party? In political science, a political party is literally a part of a whole, a faction that competes within a neutral, overarching framework. It competes for power, but is not identical to the state. Now look at the actual mechanics of the Chinese system. The ruling party has just ceased to be just a part. It has consumed the whole. So why cling to the title? Why not just declare themselves the permanent government? A government can exist without a political party. Yet the Chinese Communist Party has deliberately retained its identity as a revolutionary party even after becoming the permanent governing authority. That distinction matters. Governments administer. Revolutionary parties claim to lead an ongoing political struggle. By preserving the language of the party, the CCP preserves the language of permanent revolution, ideological vigilance, and political legitimacy. If that sounds like a bold claim, we don't have to speculate. The Constitution tells us exactly how the system is designed. Let's look at the actual text to understand why the CCP no longer fits in the traditional definition of a political party. Look at the Constitution of the People's Republic of China, specifically Article 1. Paragraph 1 defines the state. It says China is governed by a people's democratic dictatorship. But it's paragraph 2 that destroys the illusion of a traditional political party. It states that the socialist system is the fundamental system of the state, and then it gives us the legal anchor. Leadership by the Communist Party of China is the defining feature of socialism with Chinese characteristics. They don't say the party participates in the system. They say the party is the defining feature of the system. And just to make sure there is no legal ambiguity, they end the article with a warning. It is prohibited for any organization or individual to damage the socialist system. Because party leadership is constitutionally defined as the defining feature of the socialist system, attacks on the political order are inseparable from the attacks on the party's leadership. Now, Article 1 gives us another important clue. It begins by defining the very nature of the state. Now, people's democratic dictatorship. It sounds like a joke, an Orwellian typo. How can a state be both? It's not a mistake. It is a precise Marxist-Leninist formula. In their playbook, the word democracy does not mean free elections or individual rights. It means democracy for the people, and the word dictatorship means dictatorship over the enemies of the people. But here is the trap. The party holds the sole unchallengeable power to define who the people are and who the enemy is. If you comply, you receive the protection and the participation that the system recognizes. If you dissent, you are instantly reclassified as the enemy, and that dictatorship descends upon you. It's not a contradiction, it is a conditional offer. The same institutions that promise protection to loyal citizens can become the instruments of coercion against those deemed hostile. So how does this constitutional principle actually operate in practice? The People's Liberation Army is not a national army in the traditional sense. It does not serve the extreme concept of the nation. It is the armed force of the party before it is the armed force of the state. And they don't hide it. They ride it into the highest lows. Look at the constitution of the Communist Party of China. It states explicitly, the party shall uphold its absolute leadership over the armed forces, not shared leadership, not conditional leadership, absolute leadership. Article 24 of that same charter makes it even clearer. The Central Military Commission is responsible for all party and political work in the armed forces. This is not a technical footnote, it is a declaration of ownership. The military's political soul is placed under party control. But if you want the truest measure of loyalty, don't look at the charter, look at the soldier. The official oath of the PLA is explicit. It says, I swear to obey the leadership of the Communist Party of China, to defend the motherland till to the death. Notice the order. Obey the party first, then defend the motherland. The PLA does not pledge to a state, it pledges to a party. But this is not unique to the military. Remember Article 1? Leadership by the Communist Party of China is the defining feature of socialism with Chinese characteristics. This constitutional principle extends across institutions of the state. The Supreme People's Court is also part of this structure. Unlike systems where courts are designed as an independent branch standing apart from political leadership, China's judicial system operates within the constitutional framework of party leadership. The same principle applies across state apparatus. The military is not an exception. It is one example of how the party state operates. Now, a critic may point to Article 29 of the state's constitution, which says the armed forces belongs to the people. but remembers who defines the people. The party does. The state constitution is simply the party's rule book for the government. And here is the mechanical reality that Western analysis often miss. China actually has two central military commissions. One is a party organ, one is a state organ. But they are composed of the exact same leadership chaired by the exact same individual and operating under the same directives. The state CMC is just the party CMC wearing a different hat. This is the mechanical reality of the party-state system. The distinction between party and states exists institutionally, but they operate through the same leadership structure. So when Western strategists talk about professionalizing the PLA or separating military from the party, they are not offering a policy suggestion. They are proposing a constitutional revolution. They are asking China to dismantle its own founding logic. Because in a traditional state, the army defends the nation. In China, the army defends the party. And if nations' interests ever conflict with the party's survivals, the party wins every single time. And because the military exists to protect the party, the most critical function of the entire machine is choosing the one man who holds the least. To maintain this absolute control, the architects of the system point to the formal selection of the supreme executive and call it an election. But the selection of a head of state does not require a political party. It requires a structural mechanism. In this architecture, the state's own internal apparatus executes the selection. The party is not winning a contest. The party is not competing for power. It administers the succession process from within the government structure itself. And at the top of that protocol sits the core, C-O-R-E, core. Understanding the core requires a brief look at how China's leadership evolved after Mao. Deng Xiaoping explicitly cautioned against the cult of personality and the concentration of absolute power in one man. That caution was designed to prevent the return of extreme personal rule. But the current leadership resurrected the title of core, abolished presidential term limit, and placed Xi Jinping thoughts into the constitution alongside Mao Zedong thoughts and Deng Xiaoping theory. These are not simply titles or symbols. They represent a concentration of authority at the highest level of the system. Now, some will argue that the current leader is not a tyrant. Perhaps he is not. But he has erected a platform perfectly engineered for one. A system designed for lifelong rule changes the very physics of the state. It creates powerful incentive for a leader to protect the authority and the continuity of that position. A system built around concentrated personal authority naturally creates risks for rival factions and competing centers of power. Elite purges becomes a recurring feature rather than an exceptional event. Whether carried out through anti-corruption investigations, disciplinary campaigns or internal party mechanisms, the removal of rivals become part of the struggle to maintain political control. It is a consequence of institutional design, not simply of individual personality, which brings us to the ultimate vulnerability of this entire machine. Right now, the system appears stable. Why? Because of decades of incredible economic performance. The implicit social contract was simple. The populace trades its political freedom for unprecedented wealth and stability. That economic success has done more than creates prosperity. It has helped sustain the political order itself. But what happens when the wealth stops flowing? Imagine the millions of citizens who made that trade suddenly finding the prosperity evaporating, leaving them with nothing but the chains they accepted. When the economy stalls, the democratic half of that people's democratic dictatorship vanishes entirely. All is left is the dictatorship. And a machine built solely for control, stripped of the lubricant of economic growth, does not attain. It only grinds. Before making judgment about China or proposing how China should change, we must first understand how the People's Republic of China is constitutionally and institutionally organized. But if you misunderstand the architecture, you will misunderstand everything that follows. The West mocks the party, labels it, want it to go away, but they don't understand what they are mocking. They think they are fighting a political party. They are fighting the state itself. You can't destroy the CCP without destroying the Constitution. You can't destroy the CCP without destroying the Constitution. Only China can change the constitutions. So what's the plan? There is no plan. Because you can't strategize against what you refuse to understand. I'm Mark Legend Gangway, and this is the Age of Legends. And now you know what you are actually fighting.